and welcome to this meeting of Cabinet on Thursday, the 11th of December 2025. We'll begin, as usual, with apologies for absence, please.
I have apologies from Councillor Alison Anthony.
Okay, and I believe Councillor Gibbard is going to be joining us on. Yes, she's joined. Okay, thank you. Any other apologies for absence? No. Okay, we'll move on then to disclosures of personal and prejudicial interest. Are there any for today? Councillor Stevens first, please.
Yes, I have a personal prejudicial interest in item 13 and 19 for Swansea Airport.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, item 7, local authority governor appointments. I'm a member of the appointments panel and I have dispensation to remain but not vote.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Williams, Andrew Williams.
Yeah, item 7 as well. I'm a governor of Pencloud Primary, and one of the applicants is there, so it's personal interest only.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Andrew Williams.
Agenda item 11. I'm a board member for Swansea Community Energy and Enterprise Schemes, which has done some solar power installations on some of our schools.
Thank you. I come to colleagues online.
I'll just check.
Can I just check all colleagues online can hear okay? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear? Oh, yeah, okay, there we are. Great, thank you. Okay, I'll come to Councillor Fogarty. You're on mute, Councillor Fogarty. Sorry. Sorry, we can't hear you in the room currently. Apologies. Do you want to try logging off and logging back on?
Oh, Rebecca's got to.
Just pause for a second, colleagues, while we allow Councillor Fogarty to rejoin. Yeah, Mr. Smith, can we just check if there's an issue with the system or whether it's just the individual link?
Yes, happy to try and see if you can hear me.
Yeah, yours is working fine.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, Councillor Fogarty, back to you.
Is that working?
Yes, working fine now. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. So yeah, following further advice on the nature of my interest with regards to my prior involvement on the STC, it's a personal interest only in the items that have previously been considered by STC. So that's items 9, the performance monitoring report. So there's reference to delivering on nature recovery and climate change. 11, 12 and 16, but personal only because I'm here to consider those afresh as a cabinet member.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fogarty. Are there any other declarations for today? If not, we'll move on to the minutes of the previous meeting, pages 1 to 4 of the agenda. I've not had any requests for any amendments, but happy to take them if there are any. If not, I'm happy to move them with a true record. Could I ask for a second, please? Thank you, Councillor Williams. All in favour of the minutes? All happy to agree? Thank you very much. Those are agreed. Announcements of Leader of the Council. Just a very quick thank you again to all of those members, volunteers, and staff that supported Together at Christmas earlier this week, working closely with our partners, JR Catering, Jess and Jay. They again provided fantastic support, and we were able to deliver over 700 meals to needy and vulnerable individuals across Swansea, as well as providing access to free clothing and council services and advice for those people that have needed it. So again, it's the 10th year of us doing this, and again, thanks to everybody who took part. I know it's appreciated by those who attended. And likewise, we will be continuing with our range of help for the residents of Swansea this winter in the run-up to Christmas. I know local members are currently out delivering vouchers to those who have been referred for some additional help. There is extra food help. There is obviously the free buses available, as well as a range of other services available to our residents, those who need that extra support during this period. So again, really pleased to be continuing with our range of help for those residents that need it. So thanks to everybody participating and helping with that. We'll move now to public question time. Okay. So, Mr. Henry, I believe you've got a technical issue with your microphone and your connection. I'll assume you're happy for us to ask the question on your behalf. So I will ask our Democratic Services Officer to read the question out on your behalf, and then Councillor Hopkins will come in to respond.
Thank you. Right, wrong page. Here you are. So agenda item 13, management report on Swansea Airport.
Yes, it's a question on the report, so probably best you
Sorry,
appear for that one.
Councillor Stevens just withdrawing, just for the record. Right, so the question, my references. Wales Online report dated 1st of August 2024 by reporter Richard Ewell. New operator to take over Swansea Airport after legal battle ends. That's on Wales Online. The second reference, ITVX News Online report dated 15th September 2024 by reporter Dean Thomas Welsh. Swansea Airport. Could the airport's fortunes be changing after years of decline? That's ITV News Wales. In the report, recommendations is made that Cabinet approves option 1 to grant Swansea Airport Stakeholders Alliance a long lease on the Swansea Airport site. Can the leader, Councillor Rob Stewart, and joint deputy leader, Councillor David Hopkins, who both, given their positions, we can assume speak publicly on behalf of the Council and the Cabinet, please explain why their position in reference 1 and 2 above stated by them has moved so drastically? And then there's 4 quotes coming here. A long-term solution would be sought through a competitive tender. The Alliance will have the opportunity with others to bid in that process. That was stated by Councillor David Hopkins. So it's making sure that we have an airport that's a good regional airport that can meet the needs of regional commuters and also the tourism and adventure industries, and that we have around this neck of the woods. So there's an airport to do that, but I don't think we're going to become an international major hub. That's not, I don't think, the future of Swansea Airport, but certainly there is more than we can do with that facility. And that's why we are going back to the market to see what ideas people have. Those 3 sentences were said by Councillor Rob Stewart. Back to the question. I'd like to point out, as part of my question, that no other parties have had the chance and no competitive tender or going out to market has been launched, which my company have been waiting for, with a prepared tender response to go, with £50 million of capital in readiness to relay the runways with lighting, and look to bring in instrument approach procedures, which would not only benefit the based training school, Cambrian Flying Club, but also raise the potential for short sector light commercial traffic in the future, as well as protecting the skydiving organisation based there, who are likely one of the few reasons the airport still exists. I think you'll find that falls in entirely with the leader's position in reference to, of course, it will require Cabinet to support the original comments from the leader and joint deputy leader. I have attempted to connect directly with the council on this to no avail by attempting to contact the property department. Obviously, after reading the report, it would look like the property department may not be interested in awarding to anyone other than the temporary leaseholder. I'd like to put on record that I have toured the site discreetly twice after flying in, along with 2 friends who operate from Swansea and nearby Haverfordwest. I can honestly state that no improvements apart from grass cutting and one of the runways being painted, brackets, of which the latter is obviously a licence requirement, close brackets, had been carried out. I've spoken to volunteers once early on in their tenure, October 24. I spoke to Dave, I believe, in the tower, who explained the difficulties the Alliance had when taking over and the effort that many volunteers and directors had put in to make the place an ongoing success. And later, July 2025, I believe, a very friendly chap, I believe called Billy, who helped with the refuelling of my aircraft, who explained that there is a small number of volunteers who attend and do all of the work required. The Alliance should be commended on what is clearly a heroic effort to keep the place going, but my organisation feels that business now should be allowed to be entertained to allow the place to grow, to actually grow, as was promised by the leader and joint deputy leader in the references above. Note, I only include the name of the people I spoke to, so it's obvious that I have been. I haven't provided and don't have any form of information to identify them. I urge the council to put on an ITT, invitation to tender, and allow open commerce to have its chance to improve this site, which could be a vital asset to the local area. As your leader has already alluded to, failure to go to tender will simply look like the Estates Department have gone for the path of least effort. I look forward to the council's response and for Cabinet to make the correct choice in line with the leader and joint deputy leader's comments. Thank you. That's from Michael Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. That's your question read out in full with all of the commentary that you included in the updated amended version. So hopefully you're content that that has been given a full reading. I'll now come to Councillor Hopkins to respond.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. I'd like to thank Ms. Henry for giving us a question in advance in relation to the update on the Swansea Airport report as items 13 and 19. Following consideration of all the options, officers recommending option 1 as a potential grant of the lease site to Swansea Airport Stakeholders Alliance, providing disposal achieves the best consideration, reasonable, obtainable to the Council, and for the reasons supporting the recommendations set out in the report. The opposition and expressions of interest to the site has been noted, and members will keep an open mind on this matter regarding the content of the report and the opposition when we are fully discussing this item on item 19 in the closed session. Thank you, Mr. Henry.
Thank you, Councillor Hopkins. Just to add, in terms of the report, the recommendations you'll note are contained in the public document. There is obviously an in-camera session where there's further commercial information and other stuff contained that Cabinet will need to consider. But as Councillor Hopkins said, all Cabinet members will remain with an open mind on this item. And just to draw out that point further, Mr. Henry has referenced the recommendations within the report. They are they are recommendations for Cabinet to consider, taking account of all the information, including information which may have come to light or been gathered between the time we last considered this item and the time that we're now considering it. So again, Cabinet members remain with an open mind, and obviously we will take both the closed and open reports in due course. So hopefully, Mr. Henry, that gives you a clear view of our position in terms of approaching the report and determining a way forward. Okay, if there are no further public questions, can I just check there aren't any members of the public who want to ask any further questions? If not, then we'll move to councillor question time. Have we notified any councillors who want to ask a question? Yeah, can we wait for Councillor Stevens to re-enter the room, please, if that's okay? Okay, thank you. So we'll move now to item 7 then, if there aren't any councillor questions, to take the local authority governor appointments. Councillor Smith.
Yes, thank you, Leader. It gives me great pleasure to move this report. There are 6 individuals that are being recommended for nomination as school governing bodies, school governors this morning, and I'm happy to move the report, Leader.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith. I'm very happy to formally second the report on this occasion. Can I ask if there are any comments or questions from Cabinet members? If not, the report has been moved. You have the recommendations there. Could I ask you all to show if you're in approval, please? Thank you very much. That is carried. We'll move then to item 8, which is the Revenue and Capital Budget Monitoring Report for the second quarter 25-26. And I'll call in Mr. Smith, please, to give us his technical take through of the report.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I will restrict myself to technical advice. I will labour a couple of points. But the first thing I would want to say is that this is a 97% overwhelmingly positive position to be in. However, there are a few matters I wish to draw your attention to. There's a wrinkle and two buts. In terms of the technical advice, when I hand back to you, I'll be asking you to move 4 recommendations if you're so content. But by way of contextualisation, the reason that 3 may read very stern, despite my opening remarks of being very, very positive overall, it applies to both the general fund and the housing revenue account, and there are still some risks that face this authority. And the reference in 4 is recognising that this is the second quarter, and through the third quarter we have been recompensed with money for teachers' pay, and also now some money for the higher than expected local government pay, and better still, in the draft and then updated draft provisional settlement from Welsh Government, both of those have been baselined into the provisional local government settlement. So I thought it was important to give you some context as to why the wording may still seem a little bit stern, but also a little bit woolly, given it is a moving feast. It's my best endeavours to get you to an estimated position for the year. In terms of taking you through the main points, the first thing I want to draw your attention to is to section 9, the directorate overall position, which has improved from the first quarter from over 3 million to just 1.3 million. And I must place on record my view that this is an astounding position to be in, given that the pay awards for both teachers and local government staff were higher, and these have not been funded by me. My intention is to baseline it all in the following year, as per the advice I gave at first quarter. That is a remarkable position. I cannot believe there would be many other upper tier authorities with pressures on homelessness and social care that would be in that position. Part of the reason for that is, of course, we have very, very large schools balances, and any over or underspend on schools will be accommodated within the schools reserves. They may be unevenly held throughout Swansea and indeed unevenly held throughout Wales, but it is a buffer we have. 16 of the 22 authorities now have negative schools reserves, and if there is any overspend, it's a direct hit on the general fund. But I must commend all cabinet members and fellow directors. It does make my life easier when directorates are broadly living within budget, and certainly when I recognise the pressures that I haven't funded, they would otherwise be under budget at this point in the year. In section 15, in bold, I emphasise it applies to both the HRA and general fund. I know the focus of this report is predominantly the general fund. I will come back to the housing revenue account towards the end. I remind you that your contingency fund position was very healthy in terms of the outturn report that came through to Cabinet. £18 million was carried forward plus 3 million in the base. I set out an updated assessment of everything. As I said at first quarter, literally chucked the kitchen sink at everything, and there is still contingency left. I also think it is likely that the amount available needed for the Economic Growth Fund could be potentially reduced significantly if and when we get our letter of comfort from UK government, which has been promised by the end of this calendar year. You will still have choices to make about how much you want to do locally, as well as cover off any risks that there were on the successor to the UK Czech Prosperity Fund. But my position is that the contingency fund, given that I've put everything against it, is likely to not draw all of the sums that have been set aside, and that is a good position to be in. I emphasise then the inflation provision. We still hold a central inflation provision, which is both for paying the apprentice levy and core inflation. I have used none of it in the year technically, and therefore I've not asked you to move any of that. So again, you've got £3.6 million sitting on that. The savings tracker in section 32 through to 34 indicates that with compensating savings, we are forecast to achieve 94% of the overall savings target for the year, which is again commendable. That draws me to pulling it all together in the revenue summary in section 36 on core spending. That's service minor overspend, sums available on available contingency and inflation, the extra compensation we'd already had by second quarter for national insurance. And although it was put in bold as underspends held to offset those teachers and local government pay awards, that will drop out in the third quarter, given that the Welsh Government has recompensed us one-off this year, but also more healthily baselined for next year. Section 38 reminds you that the ongoing Treasury management strategy is incredibly helpful. Long-term borrowing at record low rates and variable interest on cash balances, and those sticky base rates are very helpful to this authority's position. I have therefore updated my assessment that there will be a minimum of £6.5 million underspend on capital financing charges, which at the moment will ultimately, if Cabinet and Council follows my past advice, will flow through to the capital equalisation reserve at year end. Section 43 sets out the capital position, and that's the first wrinkle. From my point of view, I always rub my hands in glee with such a low level of spend, but you may have comments or review on the pace of delivery. 21% at the half year looks a little bit weak in my view, but I will leave that to members to comment if they feel appropriately. But from a pure treasury management, capital management point of view, it's quids in for me and will aid my position in terms of capital financing and deferring borrowing to future years. I have emphasised the housing revenue account position applies as much. The duty to balance the general fund, the same rules apply on the HRA, and I gave advice at the first quarter and my advice has not changed. The level of overspend is projected now at £8 million, and I know members and officers are taking this very, very seriously, but I will need to see improvement in the third quarter and an outturn and a realistic position for the budget and business plan for next year, because that level of overspending is not sustainable. So that was one of the buts. The other thing I have added is in section 59. I am acutely conscious that authorities of our size or a little bit bigger are still settling equal pay claims. I think and would use the allegory that you're out in space, you know there's asteroids, you hope you don't get hit by one, but if you do, it has a material impact. I'm not saying there is. We have a technical provision for a small matter at the moment, but those risks abound, and I am duty bound to flag that as the other but in the equation. My nervousness exists around timing risks and what could be the consequences, so I must draw your attention to it at this point in time. In terms of pulling that technical advice back into all on a page on Appendix A, which will reiterate what I've just said and spoken to in the verbal text, services a mere £1.3 million overspent, more than offset by the balance still in the contingency fund and the central provision for inflation. And as I say, I expect those to be even better come third quarter. The £6.5 million net contribution from the Treasury Management Strategy, and the same position as last time, a material planned £15 million draw from earmarked reserves reduced down to a mere £5 million and a £10 million swing, which gets you to your overall position, which, as I say, I would sum as a remarkably good position to be in as a whole, with those two buts and a wrinkle in the equation. But I'm happy to draw my technical advice to a close there and hand back to yourself, Leader.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Smith, and thanks again for the work you and your teams have done on this report. To extend your analogy a little bit, I think we were both children of the 80s, where Asteroids was a popular arcade game, and we're both adept at avoiding those impacts, I'm sure, with our years of playing of computer games. But you're right to flag the fact that there are some potential risks on the horizon which we will need to navigate. I don't think in all my years as leader, there's ever been a time when there hasn't been risks on the horizon, so it's not new, but it's just how we approach them and how we deal with them. But as you say, and you're right to use those words, this is a remarkable position for us to be in at quarter two, to be in a position where effectively we're technically in surplus at quarter two, given some of the adjustments that have taken place since the report was written, and we're heading into quarter three in a very healthy position. That is not a position I've seen before at this point in the year. It's very rare, but it isn't common across Wales at this point in time. Now, we know you and I attended scrutiny yesterday. I think the point was made at scrutiny there, which is the reports have been overtaken by events, and actually the position currently is far more positive even than what the report says. And given some of the risks coming from Welsh Government in its ability to pass a budget have reduced significantly, those now give us comfort that we can move to a position of setting a really positive budget come March. So all of that, absolutely agree with your views on it. Equally, I want to see the pace of the capital delivery continue to pick up. That has improved, and again, we've had a number of discussions about the delivery of those key transformational projects, and we are seeing those continue to be delivered across our city and county. And also, I know there's work going on within the HRA to make sure that the controls are in place there to bring down those overspends within HRA. So those, as you say, two wrinkles, two fleas in the ointment, are things that need to be resolved. But overall, I'm still very positive positive about the position we're in. So again, thank you for that, Mr. Smith. I'm happy to formally move the report. Welcome a seconder, please. Williams.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Very happy to second this report and just to reiterate, I guess, the overspends within the maintenance and repairs budget that we're seeing, and we're doing a deep dive review to try and assess that and trying to bring those costs down. We're also making significant investments in turning our voids back into lettable properties, which is an important investment. It does cost more money, but it's money well spent, in my opinion, given the amount of people we've got on the housing register and in emergency and temporary accommodation at the moment. So just to note, we've spent a third of our predicted budget in Q2, and we hope to increase those spends, but in the right areas. Thank you, Leader.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Williams. Are you happy to formally second as well?
Happy to formally second.
Okay, thank you very much. Any Cabinet members wish to comment? Or any questions? No. With that, then, the report has been moved and seconded. The two recommendations are there. Sorry, the recommendations are there within the report. Can I ask you all to show if you're in favour, please? Thank you very much. That is approved. So we'll move now to page 32, Q2 performance monitoring report. Welcome to Councillor Andrew Williams, please.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Yeah, thanks to the team for this report. It shows that we are broadly on track to deliver all 6 corporate plan and wellbeing objectives. Most of the delivery steps, measures and indicators are on target, despite the ongoing financial and operational pressures. The strategic risks are largely unchanged from Q1 and remain stable at this time. So this report is for noting by the Cabinet. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor Williams. I'll happily second the report. Are there any Cabinet members who want to comment on any of the performance measures contained within the report? Councillor Williams.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Just to note that we are still seeing significant numbers of people in emergency and temporary accommodation. However, behind the scenes, there's a huge raft of work and effort going on to provide better accommodation and to move people from B&B with a B&B exit strategy. So we are seeing those still high numbers, but we're doing everything that we can. And what those numbers don't reflect are the number of homelessness presentations that we have, over 4,000, it's anticipated this year, which have avoided becoming homeless. So, you know, credits to Housing Options and the team for all the work that they do on the front line.
Yep, thank you very much, Councillor Williams. Yeah, absolutely agree with your comments there in terms of the excellent work being done by our teams in housing. Councillor Stevens.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. Yeah, I do like the performance reports, but so I want to thank Councillor Williams for bringing this report to us today. So I'm more than happy to support, but I did want to touch on a couple of areas around roads, coastal access and nature recovery and our outdoor spaces as well. So on highways and drainage, Q2 shows our strong progress with the local roads upgrades capital programme, the small resurfacing schemes and extended drain cleaning initiative, all reporting in green. So that reflects a significant and visible investment in we're putting into a network that residents use every day. Alongside that, we are pushing ahead with our LED street lighting programme, with around 96% of our street lights now converted to LED, cutting energy use and improving lighting quality for our communities. Although the report is looking back, I won't miss an opportunity to reference the Wales Coastal Path, especially the work we've recently carried out down on line between Limeslade and Rotherslade, which has proved an outstanding improvement to world-class coastline. So as I referenced in Council last week, you know, it's protecting the path from coastal erosion, improving drainage, improving the surfacing and keeping these much well-used routes safe, accessible and resilient all year round for both residents and visitors. So it builds on the wider work along the Gower Coastal Path, where our countryside team and volunteers are consistently striving to improve access, improve paths, walls, which is encouraging more people to use the route and supporting the visitor economy. But I did also want to highlight the work being done on nature recovery. The plans are progressing to designate 16 additional local nature reserves across the city and county, alongside ongoing work to improve the resilience of our existing reserves and wildlife areas. So that helps us move towards our Welsh Government 30 by 30 target, locking long-term protection for these key areas, key habitats, and give more communities access to high-quality green space. And I believe the consultation is actually proving very positive so far. On facilities for children and young people, the Skate and Wheel Sports Master Plan is now becoming real on the ground. So work starting this week on a new street plaza at Victoria Park, part of the £3 million programme of new and upgraded facilities across the cities, with schemes like Victoria Park, Baileymunnock, off the top of my head, Coed Bach, Klein. There's quite a few and others coming forward in the master plan, which will mean people in most parts of Swansea are within around 2 miles of new or improved wheel sports facility. And so I did want to put on record my thanks to Councillor Francis Davis for the groundwork that he's put in, and to quote him, we're certainly making progress on making Swansea the skateboard capital of Wales. It's also worth highlighting, Chair, that although the play area revamp programme is shown as amber, reflecting on the need to strengthen our project managed capacity, this work's extremely important to local communities. So as we move towards a new way of working, the aim is to bring that rating back as green as quickly as possible, so we can keep delivering high quality free play spaces for children and families right across Swansea. So that's why.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Stevens. And again, as you touched upon there, a range of significant delivery taking place, helped by the fact that we have been able to put together the largest highways capital programme in decades. The continued investment in all of our play areas, the new skate parks coming along. And again, I think we'd struggle to find any authority across the whole of the UK that is doing as much in terms of community investment as we're doing here in Swansea. So again, thank you for referencing that. I'll come to Councillor Gibbard now.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, I think the report shows us we're making some really encouraging movement towards our new target operating models in both adult and child and family services, and this seems to be progressing well in Q2. This is evidenced by the greater number of contacts accessing our early help and reablement offers rather than managed care, and this is also helping with that crucial work around hospital discharge. Similarly, in child and family services, we're seeing a reduction in the number of our looked after children this quarter. And that shows that what our teams are doing to support families to stay safely together. Clearly, the challenges persist, which we always raise, but there are really good strategies in place to respond to them, such as the report highlights, the purchase of further children's residential homes and our workforce developments. And this wouldn't be possible without the really hard work of our teams and, you know, from top to bottom in both child and family and adult services. So thanks to them.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Gibbard. I absolutely agree, and thanks to you for the work that you're doing with your teams there, as you say, to ensure that we continue to deal with the pressures that we are seeing in both adults and children's services. And again, just to reference, I know there's a huge amount of work going on to ensure that we continue to support and take pressures off the health service in terms of the work we do to ensure that people stay out of hospital for as long as possible and come out of hospital as quick as possible. So again, I know the improvements in our region are significant, and that has been noted by Welsh Government. So again, I think you know, all more power to the team's elbow in terms of making sure that that whole health and social care system works as effectively as possible. I come to Councillor Smith now.
Yes, thank you, Leader. And I think again in the Education Directorate, overall a positive picture of the report. There are strengths in the achievement around attendance, and we are looking at improvements, ongoing improvements in teaching and learning and in literacy and numeracy in particular, to support that area of our work. These are, of course, not task and finish elements. They are things that are ongoing and will be susceptible to various challenges over the years, but I think we are making the progress that we should be making. I'm also very pleased at the delivery of capital projects, the changes in learning environments for children with additional learning needs. We know that is something that where we needed to make the investment that we're making, and I think that is being delivered. Similarly, the infrastructure that's going to enable us to fully deliver universal free school meals. Of course, we are delivering those meals, but I think the infrastructure that we are putting in will make it a lot easier and a lot more efficient for us to deliver those projects. There are, as I said, other priorities that need to be addressed. Continue to drive up standards, continue to address the needs of Welsh medium education to respond to the priorities within the West. I think all of those are issues that are addressed in the report, and we are seeing steady progress towards those, Leader.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Smith, and again, thank you for the work that you and your teams are doing to support our schools to deliver the best education possible. Absolutely right to raise the ALN pressures that are there. Again, those are ones that are UK-wide. I know send over across the border in England is a real issue, and again, ALN in Wales is a challenge for us to make sure that we overcome. Again, we are having active discussions, as you'll be aware, around how we can meet the financial pressures that enhanced model of ALN can provide to our schools. So again, look forward to making some further announcements on that as we move towards the budget next year. Councillor King, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Just really to highlight from the report, just in terms of cultural services, some of the really key things, such as ongoing development of the cultural strategy, but I think also a very successful delivery of an events programme again over the summer period, which has been really successful this year in providing a number of free events and other events for members of the public to attend. And I know this is always very well received, and always paying tribute to Councillor Robert Francis Davis for the work that he has done with the team and the hard work the special events team do there. And also, it's referenced in the report strictly outside of the period, but I think another opportunity to reference the fact that we opened a Storva on our planned date of opening. I know, Leader, you took the opportunity to thank the staff and everyone who delivered that at council last week. But again, I think to emphasise that it's been very successful. Large numbers of people visiting that in its first week of opening. And I was hearing yesterday how we've also signed up just in that first week a significant number of people as new members to the library service as well in that time. So really a successful delivery of that project. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor King. Quite right to reference that. Again, I think anybody who's been to a Storva can't be failed but be impressed by what's been delivered there, and can thank you for your efforts to ensure that that opened at our deadline of December the 1st. Obviously, we'll have an official opening with our colleagues in Welsh Government and other partners later this month. And again, it is a fantastic facility now right in the heart of the city centre, bringing an old unused building back into use, but in a modern setting. And I think it's one of the best libraries now, probably anywhere in Wales, as well as offering a one-stop shop for council and other services. And of course, it's a part of a continued story. I was going to make this point myself in terms of the impacts in terms of regeneration around the city centre. We will be, as we do most years, giving the public a glimpse of what to expect in 2026 in terms of the regeneration. There are some major schemes already underway, but more to come. So people will know that Castle Gardens, the new Castle Square Gardens, is underway, which will be right on the doorstep of the brilliant new Storva. We will begin construction of our public sector hub close to St Mary's. There is obviously the redevelopment work for the Civic Centre, which is underway with Urban Splash, our strategic partners. And there's a range of things that I won't say today, but will become clear as we move towards the new year, that we'll be trailing for people to expect in the coming year. And again, our city centre is seeing some fantastic openings at the moment. So again, the investment is proving successful. Brands are returning to the city centre. We've seen 3 open just recently, and we will be making the announcement very shortly on the new tenants for the Debenham store, which will again be a further boost for the city centre. And again, perceptions are important. I know I see the comments online from time to time of people concerned about safety in the city centre and whether or not there are issues there in terms of crime. Well, again, the figures tell a very telling story. Crime has fallen in the city centre by 50% in the last 2 years. Great work being done by our police colleagues and our teams of rangers and others. So again, not only is Swansea City Centre a welcoming place where you can buy what you need, where you can get some great food and great experience, but also it's a safe place to visit. So again, and I should reference, I know Councillor Hopkins has been pushing very hard along with Councillor Francis Davis, who rings me almost daily to find out the updates that are going on, but we will be seeing our market getting its brand new entrances, our award-winning market, and again, we will continue to do all we can to support the traders, and that will take place in the new year. And of course, for I got to use the opportunity to plug it. Our new shopper hopper is proving successful as well. Our new shuttle. Thank you, Councillor Stevens, again for working to bring that into operation. Again, being well used by visitors to the city centre. A free shuttle service to get people around the city centre between the station and the quadrant, and a number of stops in between. So again, doing what we can to make sure that our local businesses succeed during this very important Christmas period. But again, a success story unfolding for us there. So are there any other cabinet members who wish to come in? Just to make sure I haven't missed anybody. If not, I'll return to where Councillor Andrew Williams left off. So it's been moved and seconded as a report. You've heard a number of positive comments from cabinet members in terms of progress and delivery today. So can I ask you to show if you're in favour of the report, please? Thank you very much, colleagues. That is carried. We'll move now to item 10, which is the proposal to amalgamate Blaen and Mice and Portmead primary schools. I'll come back to Councillor Smith.
Yes, thank you, Leader. And can I start by thanking the officers who prepared this report and also for leading the process to date in terms of moving forward with this proposal. Our members will be aware this report presents the outcomes of the response to the statutory notice that was published some months ago, and I'm pleased to say that there were no objections to that statutory notice. What this means is that the proposal to amalgamate both schools from September 2030 will now be able to go ahead, and of course that is a proposal in advance of the commitment that's been made by this administration for there to be a new primary school built to serve the two communities currently served by Portmead and Blaen and Mice primary schools. I think this is a significant step forward. We are aware of the needs of that community. We're aware of the condition of the learning facilities. They are coming to the end of their time. They've served their purpose, and we need that investment to enable children in those localities to access first-class learning environments moving forward. Can I also pay tribute to the two head teachers? I think I said this in prior council meetings, previous meetings, who have engaged with us and have committed to leading those schools towards the process of amalgamation in 2030, and I think that's a credit to both of them. So what Cabinet this morning is asked to do is to agree the proposal with particular regard to sections 1.3 to sections 1.6 of the School Organisation Code, and that will enable us then to begin the work of delivering and moving forward with this scheme. So I'm very happy to move this report, Leader.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Smith, and again, thank you for the work you've done in terms of reassuring both head teachers and governors around our intent to deliver a new school for this area. It is an area that needs the best facilities for education. The two current buildings are ones which are coming towards the end of their useful life, and they are not the best environments in terms of the fabric of the building that children should deserve at this point in time. So again, absolutely support the proposals. And again, I just want to draw out that point which I know came back to us through conversations. Whilst there is a process to go through in terms of how you secure and make decisions about funding, but the ambition absolutely is there, not only to amalgamate the schools, but to deliver that fantastic new facility for the pupils in those areas. So again, there would be no point in amalgamation without that new building coming forward. And I think just to re-emphasise, that is absolutely the ambition that we have, and that is the process that we are seeking to follow. So again, pay tribute to the work that's been done again, Councillor Smith, and just put that public reassurance out there that the ambition is there to ensure that they get the best facilities possible and a brand new school in this locality, so that the children there have the best facilities possible. Are there any questions or comments for Councillor Smith? No. With that, then, could I ask you to show if you're in favour with recommendations on page 105, please? Thank you. That is agreed. I'll come then to item 11, which is the update on progress towards achieving net zero, and I'll come to Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, so just to reflect that the Council continue to maintain momentum in terms of the finance and resource available to reach net zero by 2030 and as a wider city and county of Swansea by 2050. Work continues on behavioural change. We're working with trade unions and climate champions internally, but also holding workshops and things with the public to try and encourage them to be on the journey. Every small action makes a difference. And in terms of increasing the pace of retrofit as well, we've had some real successes there. We continue to lobby Welsh Government and UK Government for funding because some of these areas are extremely expensive. For example, our fleet review, if we wanted to green our whole fleet, we'd be looking in excess of £750 million to do so. So we wouldn't be able to do that without additional grant funding. And then in terms of achieving net zero by 2050 and delivering on our nature recovery, that's progressing well. Last year, we launched Swansea Project Zero at the Green Conference, and also the Climate Signatories Group are keen and leading on developing an adaptation and mitigation plan. So you'll see the 6 areas set out by Welsh Government in terms of emission reporting at item 12, and the progress to note on renewables on our public buildings has seen an increase since 2019-20 to up to 26% increase. So that's working well, but we continue to work with Amoresco currently in terms of phase 2 of putting solar on our public buildings to green the energy, but also to reduce the energy bills as well for the benefit of those occupants. At item I haven't got my glasses on, 19, you can see Swansea Council carbon footprint set out there. I won't go into that in any detail, but just to draw attention to the pie chart below, you can see that a massive amount of our emissions is around buildings. So that's something that we really need to focus on. And not to labour the report, because obviously Cabinet members have had sight of it, but just to draw attention finally to Appendix 1, which is the 30 by 30 action plan. So very happy to move the report. It's for noting the progress from 2024 to 2025. Happy to move.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Williams, and again, thanks for the work done on this one. I think just to add to what you said, we as a council will continue to make the progress that we can make with the resources available to us to take the decisions that are necessary to move towards net zero. However, the reality is, as you've referenced and we've said many times, to do this in its entirety will require significant amounts of national government funding to enable us to meet all of the aims within this. And certainly that is something faced by all local authorities. The resources local authorities have is insufficient to be able to do what is required. This needs national level funding to achieve those aims. But we absolutely agree with the direction of travel. We agree with the aims set out in this document. We will continue to do the things that we need, as you've said. So again, thank you for this, and thank you for the progress being made to date. So happy to formally second. Are there any questions or comments from Cabinet members on this? If not, it's for noting, but the recommendation is there on page 151. All happy to agree? Thank you very much. That is carried. We'll move then to item 12, which is the midterm review report on the climate change and nature strategy 21 to 30. Councillor Williams.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I'd like to thank the team for this report and the excellent work that they've done to date on this subject.
Some of the highlights include LED street lighting replacement is currently at 80%, and that's due to finish early next year. We've delivered more affordable, energy-efficient homes. The active travel network has increased by 25%. Tree planting is ongoing across the county. EV charging points expansion continues across the county. In education, new build schools and major refurbishments have been designed to meet net zero standards. And as Councillor Stevens said earlier, additional nature reserves are coming online shortly. This report is for noting by the Cabinet, and I'm happy to move.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Williams. And again, happy to formally second, as you've referenced in there, a number of things being delivered which provide real enhancements for residents. Because I think often some commentators, especially on the far right of politics, seem to think that doing what we can to ensure the planet is here for future generations is somehow a bad thing. And these steps, help reduce the bills of tenants in our buildings, because our new build homes are more energy efficient, which means lower energy bills for the people who are in them. Likewise, in our schools, where our schools are better environments with lower energy bills, it means that the school has more money to use for teaching, not just paying energy. And again, it's good for the planet that we're using lower amounts of energy than we otherwise would. So, all of the steps that are taken under these strategies are ones that benefit residents living in Swansea. And again, we should not lose sight of that when others seek to distort these sort of actions. So again, thank you very much for bringing this report, Councillor Williams, and very happy to formally second. Are there any comments or questions for Councillor Williams on this? No. With that then, the recommendation is on page 176. Can I ask you all to show if you're in favour, please? Thank you very much. That is carried. We'll move then to item 13, which is the updated management report on Swansea Airport. So, Councillor Stevens, I think you need to leave for this one. So again, with this report, I'm as the majority of the report's detail, as you'll know, will be in the private session. I'll limit my comments on this one. You'll know that there's been a long history on the airport in terms of its lease arrangements. The Swansea Airport Alliance are obviously the Swansea Airport Stakeholders Alliance have obviously had a lease for some time to provide enhancements. They've been successful in gaining new CAA licenses, etc., and again have continued with improvements at the airport. Within the report, obviously there are 3 recommendations in terms of how Cabinet should potentially proceed on the basis of advice. And again, when we were in public question time, Councillor Hopkins gave an indication of the response and highlighted the fact that this is based, the information in this and other reports will be based on the technical information that has been acquired over the period since we last determined. And again, whilst comments have been made previously around potential ways forward, both in public interviews and at these meetings, again, it is incumbent upon us as Cabinet to continue to have open minds on how we deal with topics that come before us, and to put that into really clear terms. Where facts or new information come to light, we have to consider them. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why we have a report today, which has recommendations written as they are, because there is further new information available to us, which wouldn't have been available to us at the time when we were discussing previously. So, again, the recommendations are laid out there on page 207. I think it is important that whichever way Cabinet decides when we do enter into private session as to how we go forward. It is important that we do provide a sustainable and stable position for the airport so that it can continue its operations and those, whoever they be, in terms of the management of that airport, have a clear way forward to enable them to take that facility forward. So with that, happy to move the report. The recommendations are there on page 207, and I'll look for a seconder, please. Councillor Hopkins.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. More than happy to second that. And I think this site has got lots of history with us. It's been for many years. What I would say at this point that obviously we are now pushing these recommendations into the private sector session, which I will keep an open mind at that point. But it is worth noting some of the work that officers have done on this particular site for many years. So I would like to put on record my thanks particularly to Alex O'Brien for the work that he's done, and Jeff Bacon as well on this site.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Hopkins. And again, just for clarity, the recommendations that Cabinet see here are ones that will need to be considered as part of the determination of the closed report. So just for clarity there, that's why we're noting these recommendations here, but obviously decision will be made once we've established and discussed and reviewed the information that's contained in the other part of the report. Okay, so are Cabinet happy to note the position at this point in time? Thank you very much. So that is noted. And we'll move then to item 14, which is the Gypsy Traveller Site Capital Investment for programme FPR7. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Leader. So the Council has a statutory duty that's set out in the Housing Wales Act 2014 to provide accommodation for the Gypsy Traveller community. So in order to identify those needs, the Act requires that all local authorities carry out a Gypsy Traveller accommodation assessment every 5 years. As a result, you will see in point 1 the immediate need which is set out, but below that the future need which needs to be taken into account as well. So in terms of the immediate scope of the project, we're looking at the report sets out the financial and grant funding requirements to develop 2 new pitches for each site. That will be the immediate work, and that will be between 25-26 and 27-28, and also includes the funding to demolish and replace the amenity blocks, which are in a terrible condition at this time, for the 7 existing pitches at Teigwyn within the same period. So both sites are certificate of lawful development. So they're both permanent sites. No longer, one of them was referenced in the past as a tolerated site. That is no longer the case. And in terms of stakeholder participation, consultation was undertaken with the community with regards to the works. So just to go to the recommendations, it's recommended that 425,000 is transferred from the General Fund Capital Contingency Budget in 25-26. This will be to facilitate the pre-construction work required to progress the scheme. A grant application is made to Welsh Government Gypsy Traveller Roma Capital Grant Fund on an annual basis to fund the qualifying elements of the site expansion works. That further FPR7 reports are to be submitted for further requests for capital funding as required, and that authority is delegated to the relevant Cabinet members, Head of Housing and Public Health, the Director of Police and the Director of Finance to progress this scheme with the approved budget and terms and conditions of funding. So move the report. Happy to take any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Williams. And again, as you quite rightly pointed out, this is a necessary investment to ensure that the facilities remain of an acceptable standard. It would be something that we would do for all of our tenants and all of those who rely on us as an authority to ensure that they have a safe and secure place to live. And again, as you've laid out, there's a phased investment proposal there, with us providing updates in terms of a number of pitches. So thank you very much for that. Very happy to formally second. Could I ask, are there any questions or comments from Cabinet members? If not, recommendations have been outlined there on page 219. Are you all happy to agree? Thank you very much. Moving now to agenda item 15. This is the amendments to the Swansea Bay City Deal Joint Committee arrangements and delegation of functions to the South West Wales Corporate Joint Committee, snappy title again. But essentially breaking it down in very simple terms, we've had two structures operating for some time, those of the Corporate Joint Committee and those of the Swansea Bay City Deal. As you'll know, we successfully negotiated and secured the £1.3 billion City Deal back in 2017. Since then, that has progressed, but it is a time-limited arrangement for 15 years, as all City Deals are, and therefore it will have a finite life. Great progress has been made, over 36 projects now in delivery, and all of our capital allocated, which is, again, a position that no other deal in Wales has claimed to. So delivery is proceeding extremely well. However, we do have to recognise that the arrangements are ones that need to be updated, and with the growth in terms of the responsibilities and maturity of the corporate joint committees, it is sensible that we move the City Deal arrangements under the umbrella of the City Deal and to combine them with that broader economic management regionally that we do. The recommendations there on page 235 highlight the changes that are required in order to do that. And again, it is important that these sort of arrangements, which have already taken place in the capital region, are ones that are sensibly achieved, because previously we would have had roughly the same individuals sitting around a table discussing things in two separate meetings, and now we can bring all of that together in a sensible, manageable a structure and arrangement. I want to place on record as well my thanks to the Programme Management Office, because obviously as part of these changes there are implications for the arrangements for the Programme Management Office as well. And again, the work that they've done together with the officers in the projects and in the local authorities to bring stability and ensure delivery of our deal, because for those of you who will remember back in the darker days of 2018, when we had some technical issues with the City Deal, those were successfully overcome and really turned the deal into one that has delivered significantly. So again, my thanks to all of those and to the lead in the Programme Office, John Burns, for the work that they've done over a number of years. And again, now we will have new arrangements in place with I think, a better, more streamlined structure that's more appropriate for what we need in the region going forward. So again, happy to move those recommendations contained on page 235.
Thank you, Leader. I'm very happy to second. It makes good sense and avoids duplication. Just wanted to place on record our thanks to you for all the work that you've done. You've been instrumental in delivering the City Deal, and I know you had many, many trips to London with different administrations, dealing frustratingly with very different ministers at times as well. So well done to you for getting this over the line, and it's great to see the significant investment that we see before us today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. It is a real team effort. Well, it was an exceptionally hard team effort to get the deal agreed in the first place. As you know, we were dealing with governments that needed certainly the UK government needed a significant amount of convincing at the time to award the deal. And of course, we've had a number of governments and prime ministers since then, and navigated them all successfully. So very, very pleased with that. It was remiss of me not to thank Debbie Smith and the team here at Swansea Council who support the arrangements and all of the legal aspects that have needed to be done here. And again, a truly brilliant job being done again. So thank you for the work done on this to unwind what are very tricky technical legal documents to ensure that we have a new structure that can make effective decision-making decisions in the new structure. So thank you very much for that. So with that, the recommendations have been moved and seconded. Could I all ask you to show if you're in agreement, please? Thank you very much. That is agreed. Item 16 then, which is the South West Wales Bus Franchising Network. Councillor Stevens.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So prior to the CGC, I'm bringing the report before Cabinet today. So it sets out the base network we need to in place for franchising to start in 2027. It's worth acknowledging that this is an initial framework, and I think a key point would be that this is a foundation. We need to look to build on it over time through extra funding where we can secure it, and through what we learn once the new system is in place. At the heart of the change is Welsh Government's vision of one network, one timetable, one ticket, the single plan network with coordinated timetables and integrated ticketing should give people a simpler, more reliable offer. You should be able to plan your journey once, buy your ticket once, and know the services are designed to work together and not compete with each other. So the technical work behind this has tried to strike a balance. We know that simple radial routes into the city centre are reliable and easy to understand. At the same time, there is a clear demand for more cross city through services and for better links between key destinations. This is potentially a very exciting time for bus services in Swansea and the wider region. And as you know, I'm ever the optimist on these things. We will be the first area, the first region in Wales to move forward to franchising, and I am excited on what that could deliver. So I'm sure there'll be some teething issues, and we should be honest about that, but it's still a clear step in the right direction. And I'm confident that working with Transport for Wales, we can use this model to grow patronage, improve through routes, and give people a more joined up public transport offer. So I just want to put on record my thanks to Hugh, Thomas, Ian Jones, and all of the transport team, as well as the work Maddie in Transport for Wales and the wider TFW team for the amount of work that's gone in getting us to this stage. So I'm keen to hear your views on the report today, so we can give a clear, constructive response as this moves on to the next step. So.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Stevens, and thank you again for the work that you've done, and again, associate myself absolutely with all of your comments, and thanks to those involved in getting us to this point. I think just want to home in on why the report endorses, but with qualified support. And I think just to be really clear on that, the base network position, we believe as councillors, and I know this came through in our discussions leading up to the report, is insufficient to meet the needs of residents. And I think it is a starting position, and it should only be viewed at that. The aspiration here is to increase and improve that network, because if we are serious about moving away from a bus business to a bus service, where it's in the interests of the users, not the shareholders, then the network has to change. And that is what we should be about. We shouldn't be afraid when bus franchising arrives to step in and run services ourselves if we need to. And this is something that we are able to do under the new legislation, which we have been prevented from doing for many decades. So again, it is a real game changer. There are always risks to being first, and I want us to be leading edge, not bleeding edge. As you say, there could be bumpy times as we transition into the new arrangements. But again, I think that this is the right thing to do. We've seen the nationalisation being taken forward by UK government in terms of the railways. This will essentially give greater public control over the bus services. And as you said, using technology, which should be basic these days. I mean, it's there in London and other major cities of one ticket gets you on number of transport, and without people having to pay exorbitant additional tickets for each individual transport they take. Again, I think there's a real opportunity for us to improve services here, having services running to where people live, not dropping them miles from their home, running at times they need them and at a cost they can afford. So that should be our aim, and that's what we should be about. So very happy to endorse this, but I just wanted to make sure that it was really clear it's qualified support, and we as an administration expect support and funding from Welsh Government to ensure we can run networks that we believe our communities deserve. Okay, welcome comments and questions from Cabinet members on this one. Councillor Fogarty.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, I want to support everything that's been said already. I was also a member of the member advisory group, which is referenced in the report, so I'll just declare a further personal interest on that. There is a lot that is to be celebrated on this in terms of bus franchising, the opportunities that it provides. For example, the move towards integrated ticketing will be a game changer for a number of our residents because it will render routes that are currently unaffordable within reach, and therefore hopefully drive some people onto buses who currently don't see that as an option. So in terms of reducing those barriers to using the bus, that's very much to be celebrated. And then in terms of improving the passenger experience, I very much welcome the network design principles, particularly the focus on connecting key destinations and facilitating multimodal travel. However, I do think it's right that it is qualified support because, as already been said, there's still quite a long way to go to actually see those principles really have the most benefit for all residents across the whole city and county area. But I do also want to thank colleagues in the council and at Transport for Wales for their engagement so far, and I look forward to that continuing so that we can work together to develop beyond this base network towards the aspirational network that does connect people where they are to where they need to go or want to go, as this will drive up patronage and enable further improvements. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fogarty. Absolutely agree with what you said again there. And I think, as I said, real opportunities for us as part of the changes that could benefit our residents significantly if we get this right. So with that, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any further comments? If not, the recommendations are there on page 271. Could I ask you to show if you're in agreement, please? Thank you very much. That is approved. We'll move then to agenda item 16A, which is the bus network grant for 25-26 and the arrangement for future Welsh Government funding. Councillor Stevens.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So this item's probably a little bit more straightforward. It relates to the bus network grant for 25-26 and the arrangements for future Welsh Government funding, as you pointed out. So the report asks Cabinet to note the award of the bus network grant funding and to agree that Swansea, as regional lead authority, continues to administer and distribute the funding on behalf of the 4 South West Wales councils. So it also seeks approval for back-to-back agreements with the neighbouring authorities for 25-26 and 26-27, and for the necessary delegations to accept any further grant reward and sign the associated legal agreements. So this will sit alongside our own support and other grants to keep services running that are no longer commercially viable, including access to education, health and employment. It helps us hold the network together while we move towards franchising in 2027, and it underpins the base network report the Cabinet has just considered. So again, thank you to Hugh and the entire transport team for pulling it together, and happy to take any questions.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Again, I mentioned funding, and like that, a report arrives providing some comfort to some funding. But again, I think we should be clear that this is a good start, but more will be needed. So again, thank you for that. Very happy to second the report. Are there any comments or questions for Councillor Stevens? If not, the recommendations are included there. So could I ask you to show your approval, please? Thank you very much. That is carried. Now we'll move to item 17, which is exclusion of the public. So the rationale for going into private session is laid out there by the Chief Legal Officer. Could I ask you all to show on page 317? Could I ask you to show if you're in agreement to go into private session, please? Thank you. That is great. So thank you very much, and we'll allow the public to leave, and we'll pause for a moment before we continue.